Okay, welcome back. Let's make sure we got some audio here. And we do. All right, so yeah, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over some of the basic logic of how you actually do something in Bash. I want to be very clear about this. We are not going over how if statements work or how loops work, right? We're going over the syntax of in Bash, how to actually accomplish those things that you should already understand from Programming 1. So with that said, let's go through the presentation. Okay, so variables, we've already went over a little bit up to this point. You have to be aware of the white space when you're setting variables and everything in Bash really, but variables in particular, because this right here will work. This right here will not work. And the difference is that there's a space here and here, and that is a practice that we typically try to get our students to do when we're going through Programming 1 for readability. But something like this, something like Bash, it actually cannot be that way. So this is part of the reason why students struggle with this, but it's syntax, right? You just have to remember which language that you're using and that you are what you're trying to program with. It is a scripting language still, but it still has programming fundamentals. So next page here. Okay, array methods. So right here, get the number of elements of arrays. Now for Bash, this starts at 1. Every other programming language in the world, it starts at 0. Now with that said, the property of, say, like length and C# that we use here, or JavaScript, that's going to start at 1. So this is a very similar function to that property of .length in other programming languages. But yeah, just be aware that this starts at 1 and not 0. All right. So that's the contents of the array. We got this little @ symbol in here with 2 square brackets. Okay. And then if we're setting the array, we need the array name equals, again, there's no space here, parenthesis, your element, and then closing parenthesis. Okay, if statements, very similar. We're going to have 2 square brackets for our testing condition. Okay, and then we can echo out the result of that. Same thing here. Good. So here's how that would look like. So if 2 square brackets, 1 equals 2, which it does not, it's going to be statement equals false. Well, the other thing I need to point out here is that unlike our C-based languages, there's no curly brace here to signify when the if statement starts and ends. Rather, it is an if statement, your true condition, your false condition, and then the end of the if statement right here, which is fi. This is going to be the same for a lot of these functions in Bash, where it's just the inverse of whatever the start of that function was. In this case, it's a if statement. Other cases, it's going to be a little bit different, and we'll be showing you that here shortly. So if statement with else if, so same thing, 2 square brackets, 1 equals 2, it does not. Else if, so we're testing for that other condition now, so this will still run, and then fi as well. Okay, loops, 3 types of loops, just like in everything else. For loops, if you're going to do it with Bash, the typical Bash syntax, you're going to be doing it like this. So we're going to create an array. So brands, no spacing for the equals here, open, parenthesis, Mazda, Honda, Ford, Dodge, and Kia. Notice that there are no commas here. There are no commas here. It is delineated by a space. Okay, so we got our for loop, brand in brands. Okay, and then echo out car brands like this. Also notice that our for loop has a do and a done. Okay, this syntax is required. if you're going to do a for loop C style, which Bash does support, and it's something that a lot of the programmers are going to be used to, still got to set your array, okay, for loop, and then your C syntax for your for loop, do and done, okay. While loops, still the same array. We have to set our I now because we don't have an incrementer. I is less than the length of brands, okay, which starts at 1, remember. And then echo car brand, brand of I, and then this is how you increment in Bash instead of a plus plus like most C-based programming languages. You have to do it like this, where you're doing I plus 1 and then you're returning that value to I again. All right. Until loops, okay, same thing. Okay, switch. Occasionally you need a switch, but here we go. While loop, do, case, $i in, and then whatever those cases are. So we are going based on I, which is 0 up here. So if I is 0, 0. If I is 1, Honda. If I is 2, Ford, so on and so forth. Here's your case statement that we do with a loop. Okay, so we got Mazda, Honda, Ford, Dodge, and Kia. Another way of handling this, which I think makes more sense. And that's the end of the presentation. So what we're going to do now is go to the VM and practice some of these and make sure that we have a solid understanding of what is going on. So let's bring this up. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to use code for this one just because it's going to be a little bit easier syntactically, and for the copy and paste portions it's a lot easier. So I'm going to open this up. That is not quick by any means. Okay, we got script. Okay, good. I'm going to check to see if I have 3D acceleration on because that's going to bother me. Okay, settings. Acceleration. Let's try display. Enable 3D acceleration. I have memory up. Don't know what to tell myself. Okay, so I'm going to have to deal with it. Alright, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to open this folder, and I don't think test folder is what we want. So let's go back up to Briggs.JA, scripts, and this is the one that we want. So I'm going to open up that folder. Sure, I'll save, why not? Okay, I trust myself. And now we have those other scripts from before. So let's go ahead and make a new file. So let's call this logic.sh, and then we're going to go through some of those examples that we had in the presentation. Okay, so let's start with an if statement. If 1 equals 2, no. Okay, bin bash. I should get syntax highlighting, but it doesn't seem to be happening. And then, okay, and there's some echo statement is true, else echo statement is false, and then fi, which closes out our if statement. So let's go over here. condition. Condition is true. Area if condition is false. And if statement. Okay, so there's that. All right, so we are going to, actually what I'm going to start doing here is printf instead of, because eventually this entire file is going to be just one file, so we need to be able to tell which one actually ran. So if I come back up here, first if statement is true, and we're going to give this a couple new lines so we actually know, or we can see a difference there. Let's go ahead and give this 3. Same thing with this one. All right, so that's going to be good enough there. If we add a else if here, so if, there we go, 1, 2, missing a equal sign there. So what this is saying is if 1 does not equal 2, that is not what I wanted initially. Here we go. Same logic is up top, and then we have a then, which is still our true condition. And from here, we can just copy this. And I don't know why I didn't do that before. So there's that. And then we can come here and copy this. We're just going to replace this else with a EL IF. And there is that. We need a 1 here. We need a anti-condition there. We need one of these. And it looks like our spacing is fine. Okay. So there is that. Yeah, that should work. Now I intentionally put in a mistake here just to show you what those mistakes actually look like. And sometimes you don't get a warning at all. Sometimes you got to troubleshoot it just purely based on logic. Okay, so now we got our loops coming up. Let's give this a comment real quick. Come down here. For loops, bash style, brand equals open parenthesis. And now we have Mazda. Let's give this a capital, makes me feel better. Mazda, Honda, Ford, Dodge, and Kia. Here we go. For brand in $, curly brackets, brands, like so. Do, no, stop, just do. And what we're going to do here is come down to done, so I don't forget to put it in there, because I have done that more than once. Echo, car brands, brand. Okay, there is that. Okay, we're going to save this at this point. Let's give this a couple more comments. Okay, so there is that. Got a couple more here to go through, and then, like I said before, I did put in a couple mistakes already, and then there might be some that I'm not expecting, and that'd be good practice for both of us to troubleshoot that as we go. For loop C style, still setting the array. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. I equals 0, I less than okay, so there's our C style. We have our while loops. Set increment. Okay. We're going to use that variable vi. We are going to bring in brand, and then we need the length of brand, like so. Do done, echo, and then we need to increment our I now because we're using a while loop. So there is that. Oh, wrong one. Of course I can't type. Here we go. Oh, there's no spaces here, so I plus 1. And there's that. That should increment our I. End of loop. And then the last one that we're going to use, actually we should use until. So let's go ahead and copy this. Here we go. Okay, that is good there. And then the last one that we're going to do is at switch. Okay. I'm going to copy this. Here we go. Bang. Case. $I in oh, my fault. I want to use this one instead of using I. It saves us a mapping step if we do it this way. Okay, there's that. And now we can go through here and copy this a few times. Oh no. Okay, copy. Actually, let's get the spacing right. Copy. Okay, we'll fix that here. Okay, there's that. And now we can put in our brands. Kia, we didn't need this one. Okay, there's that case. We need to end this case statement now, which is ESAC. It's case backwards, if you didn't notice. And then I, we do not need to increment I, because we're doing it up there. Okay, so we're going to save this, if you haven't done so already. All right, now we're going to run it. And what's going to end up happening is that we may or may not have, actually let's format this a little bit nicer. So this is going to have spacing, this does not. So if we do this, printf 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to copy this because we're going to need this for basically every single loop. Okay, now we save that. Now we're going to have spacing between all of our loops. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and run this. If you didn't know this existed in Visual Code, well, you're about to. So if we come over to Terminal, open up this terminal, it's going to open up the terminal in the folder that you're currently active in. So just to prove that it is the folder that we currently are in, if I ls this, it is in our home folder after I went up a directory. And if I go back into the directory that I was at, which was scripts, and list that, we have logic.sh, and then we have our other scripts as well. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing is that we do not have logic.sh as an executable. So I will show you what ends up happening if we do that. So logic.sh, and I'm going to try to run it. Permission denied. Okay, cool. So sudo logic.sh. Command not found. All right. So when this happens to you and you go, okay, well, what is going on with that? It is likely because it's not an executable file. So chmod plus x, which is logic.sh. I'm going to list. It is green now, so we should be able to run this. All right, line 6, if, and then we have if 1 equals 2, command not found. Okay, So, a couple things that we need to point out here. First, right here's line 6. Now, if we were using something else like a nano, I'm pretty sure you don't get a line. I also think you can add one, but by default, I don't think you have one. I don't use nano a whole lot. But right here, it blew up here. Well, I know for a fact that this is supposed to have a space in it. So I'm going to save that, and let's see if that actually fixed the problem. So I saved it. Still line 6. Okay, well, I'm also noticing that this if statement is not highlight in any way, but everything else is. Well, that's a little strange. Well, maybe we're missing that space. So this is where Visual Code is really helpful, where it will highlight the things that come up as your default functions, like an if statement. So if you know that that is coming up as white and it should come up as purple, or if printf is coming up as white and it should come up as yellow, then, well, you know you did something wrong. So let's go ahead and fix this one and this one. Let's go ahead and check the rest of these now. All right, so we're going to save that. Going to run this again. Statement is false, logic, line 20, syntax, error, near token, fi. Okay, so I was not expecting this. This gives us a opportunity to troubleshoot. So right here's line 20, right here's line 11. And the reason why I point out line 11 is because line 20 and line 11 were copied and pasted. So I am thinking at this point it probably has nothing to do with this print statement because this never ran actually. So let's come up here and let's see if our script blows up at line 11. So if we do that, go to logic, it's still blowing up at line 20. So that tells me after I change this logic up here that it doesn't seem to be a syntax issue. It seems to be a issue with, well, something else. And I'm not sure what it is right offhand. So let's try a few things and see if we can figure it out. Okay. Line 20 is statement, probably not that. Triple, fi, no space in there, no space in here, lif, that's coming up as purple. Okay. Statement is false, so this is running. First statement logic is true. Interesting. So what we're going to have to do here, just to make sure, so whoa, this is a little odd, because this shouldn't be running at all on line 20, because this is a true condition. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is var1 equals 1, nope, var2 equals 2, and then we're going to swap out these vars. Actually, this is a 1 does not equal 2. Var 2. Okay. Let's see if our conditions are a little bit better. Line 22. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is clear. I'm going to run this again. Statement is false. And that is correct. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come up here and I am going to cut. I'm going to put it right here. Stop. Here we go. Copy. And paste. So we're going to save that. We're going to run this again and we're going to see what happens. Okay, statement is false. It is false. Okay. Syntax error near unexpected token FI. Line 22. Very interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going to make sure that my syntax is in fact correct. So I'm going to go to the docs. And if you've been a part of my Intro to Web course or any other programming course that I've taught, I stress over and over and over again, you need to look at the docs and not Stack Overflow for something, because things change too quickly. And the docs are going to be updated much faster than Stack Overflow ever will be. So, bash docs, if else. Okay, so this doesn't have a then in there. That is curious. So let's try that. I don't think this is going to work. Yeah. So one thing about the bash docs and kind of Linux docs in general, they're not particularly good. So it's there, but it is very engineering based, where if you make a mistake on it, they blame you. Because this is not exactly readable. Right? Because we don't have single square brackets. And then we definitely don't have thens inside of these square brackets that have semicolons as well. So, not the best docs in the world. Let's come down to one of these. If, then, echo, okay, whatever. I need else if. There we go. Else if, then else if. Oh, I'm missing a then. Okay, so The docs didn't tell me, but this did. I was missing a then. Okay, so there's that. This should work now. Statement is false, statement is false. Looks like we got an endless loop. But where might that be? So this is part of the reason why errors are important if you're going to be doing error systems. This is also part of the reason why notes are really important as well. Starting loop, C style. Okay, there's that. Let's go ahead and rerun this, see what happens. Okay, so this is suggesting that our loops are running and that none of our statements are true. Well, for most part, this one is definitely not true because I'm just doing new lines. So we got to fix that here in a second. Okay, so let's fix that. Let's get the easy one out of the way. And to be clear, guys, like this happens all the time. Don't get down on yourself if you find that you are always looking at the docs or you're always making mistakes and that you can't do anything right without trying all the wrong things first. Me too, right? It doesn't matter how much you know, how long you've been doing this. It never ends. There's always a better way to do it. There's always something to look at and go, I didn't do a very good job here, right? So I'm going to run this again. Okay, we have our until. We do not have anything. We don't have the starting switch here. This should be running an echo regardless. I set to 0. Until I equals length of brands. That makes sense to me. Okay, as long as I is less than length of brands, also makes sense to me. Oh, right there's our starting switch. That is running. We don't have a infinite loop problem. So let's go ahead and fix that by giving that a new line. Okay, that is... Okay. So our if statements work. Our loops do not seem to be working. I feel as though I'm missing something really small. Okay, let's try that one. Nope. Wasn't that? Alright, so let's go back online, see if we're missing anything. We're probably missing, again, something really, really small. Okay, so I ended up figuring out what was wrong. It was twofold, and that took an embarrassing long time to figure out what actually was wrong. But the moral of the story here is that it happens, guys. Don't get too worked up when things don't go the way that they're supposed to go, even if you think it's really simple. Like what I'm about to show you. I've been doing this for a little while now, and it's a very simple error. So what ended up happening was that our array here was set to brand. Okay, we needed this at brand, plural. So I had to change the variable name to brand. Okay, for this loop, the bash style loop that we got here, for brand in brand. All right, now we're down here. Now we can do that as brand. So now that we got that plural squared away, it now works. Same thing with down here, brand, and then put an I in here. That was the second error. So I was trying to do brand when I was copying through. So that initial mistake that I made, which was likely just a typo, perpetuated throughout all the loops because I copied and pasted all the loops. So it makes sense that the same mistake was in all of them. But the point is that look, I've been doing this for a little while now, and I just made a mistake on loops, something very, very basic. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at the results now. So statement is false, that comes from our if statement. And then starting loop bash style, that gives us cars of brands. I am noticing a logic error now, because we should have a bunch of those. So let's go back up here, which is this, for loop in brands. More than likely, I'm going to need one of these. Okay, so this is going to get out the rest of those values. Okay, so let's go ahead and come back down here. Let's see if that works. Statement is false. Starting loop bash style. Okay, now we got all of our car brands. We fixed that problem. Now I noticed a different problem, which is right here, starting switch. We're just getting, well, nothing. So let's come down here to our switch. Brands, case and brand Mazda, okay. Printf. So our problem is right there. We have a syntax problem. We're doing a printf and then we're telling it semicolon, which, well, it doesn't really work that way. So we need printf with a space. This should work without with the double space, but for the sake of consistency, I'm going to fix this. Here we go. Save. Rerun this, starting switch, and hallelujah, it works. So this is how you get, well, first, this is how you troubleshoot. You have to go through and consider even the most basic of things to make sure that you actually got it right, because I don't care how long you've been doing this for, you're going to make mistakes like that, and you need to be able to troubleshoot it and be honest with yourself that you can make such a simple beginner's error like that. The second thing is look, guys, when you're doing things like this, you need a good amount of patience, and you just have to sit down and go, okay, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this? And then you get a series of hints, most of the time at least, of what you're doing wrong. Now with me, the hint was nothing. However, nothing is a hint within itself. That likely means that something's not running. So you have to go find it. Okay, well, why is this not running? And once I figured out that I named my variable wrong, well, everything else squared away. And then as you've seen for the last few minutes here, when I was talking and troubleshooting in real time, it gives you different hints where it only gave you one car brand. Okay, that means it's only getting one variable out of that array, so we need to go fix that. And then the switch, it was printing colons, not semicolons. and then you go find the colon and go, oh, okay, yeah, I did that wrong too. So this is how you get the basic logic. This is how you control data flow. All right, it's very, very similar to a programming language, any of the C ones at least. And the biggest difference is that it's very sensitive to white space, and it's very easy to make a beginner's mistake, especially if you're starting out new to this, even if you have programming experience. So with that said, that's going to do it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.